Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about our admin panel and how we are going to be building that into a live application, and it's going to be web-based. Also, we are going to be using the Flutter web technology to be building our admin panel. So why do we need an admin panel to manage our client-side app? Yes, you might be feeling okay, we just need only the user app and that's okay for a food delivery app. No, we need to manage the resources that comes into our client-side app, like the foods, and also we need to manage the order. When a user makes an order, someone needs to see that order and take care of it. So that's the work of the admin panel. So I'm going to show you what the admin panel is going to do here, and you're going to see that in action and have in mind of what we are building currently. So let me showcase this and let's go. So I'll try to sign up here with a real user, and I'll just sign up and click on login and wait for it to authenticate this particular user. And yes, we are in. So we are currently in, and some of the pages are not being built yet because we are focusing on other stuff, like we are focusing on different things. The only page that is being built here is the create foods, so we are going to talk about that a little bit. So we have the overview, the customers, the orders, the category, the create food, the foods, the transaction, and the feedback. And the overview is there to give an overview of what is actually going on the Fooder app, and the customers is going to give us all the customers that are currently in that are using our Fooder app application, which is the client-side application you're seeing here. And the orders is when the user makes an order, is going to come here, and the admins are going to see that and can react to them. And the category here is going to be where admins can create different categories of food and can use it to create different foods. So like categories we already have here, so admins can create more categories from the categories tab here and add it to what is currently here. And here we have the foods, and we are going to display all the foods whenever a user posts. Whenever the admin posts a food, we are going to show all the foods here. Admin can decide to make the food go live. Admin can decide to delete the food entirely. So that's what the food tab is going to do. And the transactions is we are going to see all the transactions users are currently making, like the payments being made. We are going to see the transactions in this particular tab. And the feedbacks, we need feedback from our users. So whenever a user gives feedback, it's going to come into the feedback tab. So that's all. And next, I think when admins can actually log out, and you can see that the navigation is working as perfectly. Maybe you want to navigate to overview, you can't do that because you're not authenticated. And if you maybe tries to authenticate with non-admin, this is not going to allow you, because we need to verify that you're an admin, or maybe you don't have, this email is not being used on our app. So we need to check all of those. So I'll just log in with the right user that's an admin, and you can see that we are here, and we can navigate to different screens from the URL here. So that's all we are going to be doing today, and I can as well show you how to create a product, a food. So let's just create one food here called ice cream, and we publish and wait for some time, and this get published. So when it gets published, it navigates to the food, and when we have implemented that, you're going to see the food in that in this food tab. So you can scroll here to see that we have added the choco ice cream. You can see that this is the choco ice cream. So that's all what we are going to be doing today, and I would like you to stay calm and focus on what we are actually trying to achieve, and let's achieve that together. So here we are in the project, and on our last lesson, which we were talking about the client side, our client side app is already connected to Firebase, which we use the mobile SDK to connect to that, and we are going to try to connect our Flutter web app to Firebase so we can be able to use the services that Firebase is going to provide for us, like the authentication, the database, and the rest of the things. So let me quickly take you to Firebase console, and here's our Firebase console. I have already connected this app. I'm going to show you how I just did it now. So you can click on this tab, go to the project overview, click on where you see add app here, and you can add a web app here, and you can just type in the name of whatever name you want to add, and you can, let's just say we just do Flutter admin here, and we can also set this up for hosting, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to delete this later, and I'm going to wait for some time, and this is going to give me all these keys here, the API key and whatever, and all the configurations that we need. So I'm going to copy this and go to our main folder here, where we have main.dat, where our app runs, and I'm going to get that and paste it here. So just get that, just paste it here, just copy all of this, and paste it in here. So that's it, how you connect it. And from getting this API called Firebase.initialize app, you need to install get the plugin Firebase core, and as well some other plugins that's going to help you to perform some services that you need in your app, like authentication, Firebase database, and as well the Firebase storage. So I'm going to take you to the prospect.yml, and you're going to see that we have this database control plugin here, which is the Firebase cloud Firestore. We have the Firebase storage, we have the Firebase core, we have the Firebase auth. So just like the name here, we have Firebase auth is for the authentication. For our Firebase, we have the Firebase storage, the storage part of our Firebase Cloud Firestore, the database part. And we also have some state management control, which we are currently using provider here, and we have the provider package being added here, the either that we are going to use for our network choices, and the get it package to make many of our classes to be singleton classes, so we can use them anywhere. We have the international plugin, the Intel plugin, so we can use that. The equatable to equate our classes, random string to generate random strings for us, the file picker to pick different files. In our case, is going to pick mainly images. So just like I just showed you how we pick that ice cream image. So I'm going to close here, and we go back here in our main.dat. Now in this main.dat, you can see that I just imported the Firebase core, and it gives me this class Firebase.initialize app, and we have these options that as API key, domain name, database URL, and all these things. You just need to copy them and just paste it here, and I think you should have everything working. So that's how I connect this. Maybe in the future we might want to get this to the web folder and take it to our index.html, but currently now this is totally okay for our project. So let's continue with that. So let's talk about the authentication flow of our admin panel. So I'll take you back to our Firebase console and take you to the console where we have the authentication, the tab where we have the authentication, and you see that we have enabled the email and also Google. This is actually used on the client side. We are just using the email and password so we can authenticate our admin users based on their email and password. And I'll take you to our Firestore database. I want to show you one more thing here and what we're actually doing, because different users might just come once that are currently using our footer app, which is the client-side app, and wants to log into our admin panel. We don't want that. We need specified users. We need specific users that are currently admins, that we want to give that permissions to be able to access that particular software. So here we just added a field in the users document called permissions, and we will be having list of permissions. We might have different permissions in the future, but currently now we just have just a single permission, which is the admin. We might have the customer permission. Being a customer, you can be able to access just the client-side app, and being an admin and a customer, you can also access the client-side app and also access the admin panel as well. So that's what the permission is here for. I'm going to show you how this is being done. So let's go back to our project. So here in our project, you can see that we have initialized Firebase, and that connects it totally to our Firebase data console. And I'll just take you down to our services here, where we have authentication service. So here we have different, I'm just going to collapse all of this. Here we have different methods here that makes up our authentication. So, and before I start, this class is a singleton. I do this manually rather than using the get it. I just do this manually. And we have the instance of Firebase auth here, and we have another method called is email in use. So this method is really self-explanatory, like is email in use if the email we provide is in use. So this is going to return a boolean, a feature of boolean, and we are going to do a little check here. If the email is valid, that means it contains an @ sign, and also we do this other check here. And here we fetch, we check on the Firebase auth API, where we get the fetch sign in method for email. We get the email from here and trim it to make sure there is no spaces, and pass that in here. So if this list is not empty, that means the email exists, and else if it's empty, that means it doesn't exist. So that's what this method does. And the login here, we have it just goes in, check the email first that we pass in here, because this is going to return a Firebase user. A Firebase user contains everything like the display name, email, some metadata, phone number, and photo URL, all those things. And so here we are checking if this email actually exists, and we are waiting for that because it's a feature that returns a boolean. And if this is not true, we say that this user does not exist or email badly formatted. And if this user actually exists, we are going to continue with the sign in process, and we are going to call on the sign in with email and password, and pass in the two fields here, email and password. And we are going to, if the user, because this is going to return us a user credential, and we call this auth results. And if the user in this user credential is not null, we are going to return that user. Else, we're going to say it unable to log in user. And we are going to do on this try and cache here, we are going to pass the message. So whatever thing that happened, we're going to pass in the message, maybe network failure or whatever thing that occurred. And here we have the logout. We just wrap this in the try and cache, and we call on the sign out from the Firebase auth API. And here we also have the auth states, and this is a stream. We want to listen to whatever happens to a user, like maybe the user logs out, we want to listen to that. If a user logs in, we want to listen to that. If a user deletes his account, we want to listen to that. So that's what the auth states actually does for us. And I'm going to take you guys to one more place here, and which is the user repository. So the user repository is going to help us communicate both with the authentication service and also communicate with the Firestore database. So that's what the user repository is going to do for us. And here we have the user, the singleton instance of our user auth service, which is the authentication service.instance, and you also have the user collection that's pointing to our users collection in this data in our Firestore database here, pointing to this collection. And we have the current user being a value notifier. The value notifier is going to help us to listen to whatever thing we want to listen on the widget side. So we also have the stream subscription here for our user stream subscription. So we want to be listening to a single document of that particular user. So whatever changes that is being made on that particular document, we can listen to that. We do same for the auth stream as well. We are using the stream subscription, we are listening to that as well. So whatever happens, we'll also listen to that. And we can use this, we can cancel whenever we log out from the app. We can cancel the subscription and then log out. And also here we have these getters with the name, current user UID, and we are going directly into the auth service and getting the current user and the UID. So if this is null, we know that the user does not exist, but if it is not null, we know that there is a user using the app. And here we have the set current user, and this sets the user to our current user notifier, and it takes in the user and sets it and notify listeners. And here we have a constructor for our user repository. When this class is being called, the constructor gets runs and we listen to auth changes. And in our listen to auth changes, which is a private method here, we cancel the auth stream subscription and we listen to this. So we listen to it, and this will provide us with a Firebase user. And if this is not null, we get the current user, and I'll go there, and else is going to print all of this. So let's go to the get current user. In this get current user, we are going to pass in the UID, which we just did here, passing the UID. And here in the get current user, we have a try and catch that we need to check if this is this throws an error or not. And we are going to go directly to the user collection and the documents of this ID we have here, and we are going to check if that user actually exists in our database. If that user exists, we are going to get that user as a map of string dynamic and pass that into our user model. So I'm going to take you to our user model. We copied all of this from the client-side app. We already have the codes from our client-side app, so you can go there and copy it, or you can we already have this on GitHub. So let me just take you there immediately. So here's where we have it: admin, footer admin. You can as well start this if you have not started, and also fork, so you can be getting update from whenever I post anything there. So here in the user.dat, we extend the equatable. I've talked about all of this on our client-side app, so you can just go there, get the lessons and listen to it. One thing I added here is the permissions. I added the permission with a list of strings, and I have two permissions here, the admin and the customers. So the next we would do here is get the user from the from map, pass in the map here because it's of key and value pair, and we check if the user is admin. So there is a getter in the user model here, so we check the permission. If it contains admin permission, this admin here, if it contains, that means that user is an admin. We log that user in and listen to that, else we log that user out and print user is not an admin, and through this message user is not an admin. So but if this is true that this user is an admin, we set the current user using our setter, and we listen to that current user as well. So that's what we're doing. Then we have the login here that gets the email and password from the client-side code, from the code on our screens, because we are going to call this on our states, and I'm going to show you all of that. And here we get the auth service and get the login, pass in the email and password, and also we check if it's right using the EDA package. And if this is right, that means it was successful. We get the Firebase user, which is right, and you can see here user, and we get the current user from our get current user method, and is going to return us with this, and we can check if this is right. We return the user. This is going to be our user model, not the Firebase user. And here if this returns, maybe it returns else, we are going to return the left side, and this is going to be an error. Else, if this is not right, that means it's going to be an error. We're passing the error message. Also, if there is anything that happens on the cache here, we also return the left side. And here in our listen to current user, we cancel the subscription when we start listening to this, and we just listen to that particular document. That's the snapshot of it. This is going to be giving us whatever new values we get from our database. So it's going to do that for us. And when we pass in the listen here, we call on the listen here, we add that to our user stream subscription, and we always listen to that. When there is any change, we always listen to that. And we do the same what we did for our get current user. We just do this, pass it, and set the current user. And the logout we have here is set the current user to null, and we log out that particular user. So that's what we are doing for the authentication. And the next thing we're going to talk about is the navigation. So here we have put in some navigation. This we copied from our client-side app and did some let me say some refactor. We did some refactor, added some more code, and I'm going to show you all of that. So we have all these imports. These are just screens that I'm going to show you. You can see in the screen folder we have different screens, the authentication screen and the dashboard, which has different pages on the dashboard page. So we just import all of that. So I'm going to show you that we have the get it here, the get it, and before I forget, we have a get it class here, which has this initialize service, and we are initializing the user repository, we are initializing the navigation service, we are initializing the food repository, we are initializing the image picker service. We are going to talk about this too later. And we have this locate that we can use to locate these services, these classes, so we can be able to use that single instance of it. So, and we are actually calling this initialize service on our main here, where we have this. So after we initialize the Firebase app, we initialize our get it service, so we can actually use all of those. So in our navigation service here, I'll just close this and make this bigger. And here we have our navigation key. That's the first thing. We need a navigation key, so be able to control our navigator from a key, not from the context. So that's why we have the navigator key. And here we have the user repository. We need to know if our user is actually there or not. We need to access some few things from our user repository. That's why we have this user repository, so we can access some APIs from there. And also we have this route notifier. This route notifier is here because we need to know what route we are currently, and we are using value notifier for this, so we can, whenever we trigger this, we can rebuild whatever we want to rebuild on the widget using value listenable builder or any other API for listening to a value notifier. And we are still using this. We have this show navigator navigation bar, and this is either true or false, is a boolean. And whenever this is show navigation bar, this gets shown to the screen. But if this is false, this is not being shown. And here we have paths to close navigation bar. I explained this on our Flutter client-side app. How when we add some path here, is not going to it is going to close the navigation bar. Like here we have the odd paths, and in the odd paths, if we maybe log out, we are going to the odd path, and you are not going to see the navigation bar here anymore. So that's what this path to close navigation bar does. So currently we have added this odd paths, which is what you're seeing. These are all our route names: the odd path, welcome path, overview, customer path, orders, create path, foods, and all the paths we have. And here we are adding just the odd path because we don't want to see the navigation bar in the authentication part. So here we have this setter that set our navigation bar. It takes in a boolean, and whenever we set this, maybe set it to true, the navigation bar is going to show here. So you can call it either navigation bar, or you can call it our drawer, anyone you want to call it. And the next here is we have this determined home widget, home part, sorry. So the determined home part here is going to check if the user exists. So we are going to check here if the user exists, the current user ID. If this is not null, we go to the overview. But if this is null, we that means that user doesn't exist. We go to the auth part, and I'm going to show you how we are using this. And the next, we have this ungenerate route that gets the route settings, and the route setting contains things like route name and everything. And here we are just pushing the names of our route names to the history of our tab here. So that's what we are doing. Sometimes it happens from our Flutter app, like from the Flutter side, but currently we are just pushing that to make sure that things are being shown here. And here we have the switch case here, like the switch case that does all of this for us. So if the name is auth part, we navigate to the authentication view. If the name is overview part, we navigate to the overview page. If it is customer, we navigate to that. So that's all what we are doing. And here we have this navigate to page route, and we are using a page route builder here, so we can have that nice animation. And we are currently having, you can see it's not sliding, it just kind of fade transition. I'm going to show you guys again how that is working, but currently we are using fade transition, and we are using duration of 200 milliseconds to fade whatever page we want to fade out and in. And we also have this navigation push replace name that takes in a path and push and remove until. So the push name and remove until push takes you to a path and remove whatever stack of screens we have in the back. We remove everything. So that's what this does. And the observer, route observer that extends route observers. And we have we use our locate to locate the navigation service we already have here, and we do all this check, which I've explained on our client-side app. So you can go and check it out, those videos, because I don't want this video to be any longer. And so we are doing for the did pop and the did push. So those are, whenever the did pop is when we pop back to the screen, the did push is whenever we push to a new screen. And here we just have this global mate function here that says navigate to push replace name. So whenever we call this, we just navigate to that particular screen. So the next page I'm going to show you here is the route delegate. And before I show you the route delegate, I'll show you the app.dat. So the app.dat file is where we have the footer admin, and the footer admin is being called on run app. So when our app gets run, the footer admin gets called. And here we have our multi-provider, which I'm going to talk about some providers. We have the authentication state, the dashboard state. So we initialize this globally so we can use it on our entire app. And here we are using material app.router. I think this .router was introduced when we add the navigation 2.0. So we can have some functionalities, so we can control the navigation URL. The URL here, we can control it very well. So that's why it was introduced. And we have these two parameters here, which is giving us all this power to control our navigation on the web, which is the router delegates and the route information parser. So these two classes is in the same file, which is the route delegate I already opened. And here is the URL handler information parser, which extends this and of a type string. And this is going to return the location, and the location is the path. And whenever any of this is changed, like we go to the overview, this is going to return that overview if we actually navigate to that overview. And we can use that in the URL handler delegates. We can use that here, and here we have the router delegates that override about 4 methods here: the add listener, the pop route, the remove listener, the set new route paths. I think that's all. And the important one is the builder, the build that actually build our widgets. And the next one here that is another important is the set new route path, which this configuration is actually the path that is being emitted from this particular route path information. So what we are doing here, we build the dashboard view. I'm going to show you guys, and also we pass in the determined home path. So we have the current path as a parameter here for our dashboard view, and we pass in the determined home path here from the navigation service. And here we have set new route path. So we check if this user is not null, that means the user exists, and the configuration, which is the path, is not odd path. We do these operations. We set the navigation bar to true, and this we set the route notifier to this particular path, and as well navigate to that screen. Else we check if the user is null, we navigate to the odd path, or we just navigate to the overview. You can go through all of this code because it's there on GitHub. You can go through all of this. So that's how we are doing for the navigation. So let's talk about our food repository. So in our food repository here, we just have one single method that's add food, and this add food takes in a model, a class called food, and this class is a model of food. We already have this in the client side app, and there's nothing new about this. Everything is just here: the ID, title, image URL. So we need to provide all of those on the states, and whatever state we are calling this. So we initialize that, and we pass in that and create our food from the Firebase collection. So we go to the Firebase collection, foods and documents, and set that particular food. We go, because we are auto generating these IDs. The IDs are not unique whenever we are generating. Okay, they are unique on their own way. So we are generating those IDs, and we are setting those food. That means creating those food in the database, and we return true or false. So here we are going to return true if this runs successfully. Else we the cache whatever error that is being passed. So that's what we have for our food repository. So the next we are going to have is the image picker service. So the image picker service is there to pick images, and also we'll use another method in this image picker service to upload files to our Firebase storage. So I'm going to talk about the first image pickers, the first method here called pick images, and this should be refactored to just pick image because we are just returning just a unit 8 list. Why we are using the unit 8 list is because we are doing this for the web. We would have used file, but I think the file doesn't work very much on the Flutter web, and we are using this unit 8 list because it works perfectly fine for the Flutter web. So here we just have a null image of unit 8 list, and we call on the file picker and pick file. We allow multiple users can pick multiple, but we are limiting that to just maybe 4 images or whatever thing. In the future we will do that, but now it's just a single image. We pick that image, it gives us a result. If this result is not null, we get the file from the first and get the file bytes and add it. The file byte is actually the unit 8. We add it to this null value we already have here. So it's not going to be null anymore. It's going to contain a type of unit 8 list, and we return that particular image. So that's what we are doing for the pick image. And the next we have here is upload image to default bucket. So what this is going to return a string, and this string is going to be a downloadable URL that is going to be provided by Firebase, that we are going to pass into our food image URL. So that's what we are going to do. And here we have the image, we have the string storage part. This is going to be the storage part we are actually pointing at, and we have the reference. So currently I just set the default reference to food. So we have the default reference to food, and here in your Firebase console, you just go to your Firebase storage and make sure that you enable this particular service, so you'll be able to use it, because without that you'll not be able to use it. And you can see that the ref I have here is just foods, and here in the foods you can see different images for our foods, and they are pointing to that, and I'm putting the data, and from the Firebase storage ref put data, and you can put in a unit 8 list data here, and it's going to give you an upload tax. You're going to get that upload tax. From the upload tax you can get the ref and get the download URL, and you return that, and you can get that as a string. So now we are going to look at the different states that control our app, like the authentication state we talked about, and the dashboard state, and as well the state that actually creates food, and as well the UIs. We are going to talk about all of that. So I'm going to show you that we have some assets here, the fonts and icons and images. We have already configured that on our prospect.html. Here you can see all of them below here. You don't need to do all of that, just fork this, clone it to your machine, you have everything you want. And here we have different components like the app scaffold. We copied it from our client-side app. We have the base state, we copied it from our client-side app. We have the footer button, we copied it from our client-side app, added a little bit of functionalities. You need to check it out. We have the rounded card. We just wrote this. You need to check it out how we wrote this, because this is what the work of a rounded card. We just call it, and it will give us any kind of cards we want. So we have our stopper widget, and you can check it out. It's called stopper progress bar, and when you provide a count here, it will take the size of widget and see what kind of progress it can give you from the count. And we have the text field. We copied it from our client-side app, so there's nothing too big on that. And in our constants here we have food categories, and I'll just open this. You can see our food categories. We do this static. We are going to get rid of this when we have the functionality to actually create categories. So we have the icon part. We copied it from our client-side app. Image part, we copied it from our client-side app. Menu, so this is the menu. The menu is when I'll just log in here, 23@gmail.com, and I'll just 123 and log in. So the menu is what you see here. The menu, this is the menu. And the menu here, we have different menu like the overview, customers, and this is a class, and this class is an immutable class that takes in a title, icon, routes, sub routes, and which is the list of the menu we already have here. So just like we have sub routes here, we have sub. This is the main route. When you click on it, you open it, and we have the sub routes. So that's why we have this. We can maybe refactor the name later. I just came up with the name menu. And we have the title. The name of the title we just show here. So that's why we have it as in our constant here. And the route names, I already showed you this. These are all the route names we have. And here we have our theme. We have our theme. We copied it from our client-side app. And we have our utils. We copied it from our client-side app. Nothing fancy about that. And here in our authentication, you can see in authentication what we did here. We just get our user repository and as well navigation service, and we have our email controller and the rest, the two email controller users see on that screen, and we initialize that and we add listeners to this, and we check if the email is valid, checking if it's not empty, and also if it contains an @ symbol. So we can use a regex in the future, regular expression, to validate it, but currently want to keep things really simple And here in this method, we override dispose and remove listeners whenever this state is being disposed. And here is the listener, the notifier. We just have a call on notifier listeners to review the widget whenever we listen to the email controller or password. So here we have the login, and here we are just checking if the loading is false. So we don't want a user to click twice. I'll just log out here, and maybe we just pass in test123@gmail.com, and we don't want a user to click twice here, and this all runs twice or whatever times the user click. So we need to check if the loading is false, and this loading is from the base state we have here, and we are extending that on our authentication states, extend base state. So we are checking if this is false. We set this to true. So that means if the user clicks on this again, this is already true. The user won't able to pass through to this block of code again. This is going to be run just once. And we go on our user repository, login, pass in the email controller text, the text that are inside the email here, the text field, sorry, and also the password as well. Pass it there and check if this is right. We clear the both email controllers because there is a user there, and we navigate to our overview. Else we just show you an error. So just what we just saw here, error just occurred. So that is that for the authentication state. And here I'm going to show you on the view, just the view. You can check all of this out. I'm not going to, because there's no time, I'm not going to show you how we actually build this. And the next is going to be the dashboard state. So the dashboard state is we have just a single method, logout, and these two repositories being called here. So we are going to dive into the create food, and this create food, before we go here, create food state. Okay, this is create food state. I'm going to try to log in again, and here in the create food states, let's go to the create food page first. Here we have the create page view, create food view, and we are using this in the navigation service. So in the navigation service, whenever you navigate to create food, you navigate to the create food here. Whenever I call on the create food part, you navigate to the create food. So we're talking about where we call this navigate when the user actually navigates, like all of this. So I'm going to go there now before we go to our create food page states. So I'm going to close this. On our navigation dashboard view, we have the dashboard view, and we have the current parts we talked about, and we are passing that to the navigator we have here, and we pass the navigation service key to this navigator. We pass the observers to this. We pass the initial route to this current part which we have here, and as well the ungenerate route, we pass it to this particular point as well. And here we have the app scaffold, and here we also have a row, so it's going to show both the page and as well the drawer, or we call it navigation bar, whatever I want to call it. So it's in a row, and here we have the dashboard drawer. I'm going to take you there. So in the dashboard drawer, we have this logo have here, which is we are getting it from the image part logo, and we have the spacers and everything here. We also have this expanded widget that display all the menus in the list view. In the list view, all the menus we have here in the list view, and we are using the navigation bar card to display that. And here in the navigation bar card is a stateful widget, because we want that over effect. Whenever you over, you can see it change to this rounded border over you see white over, and you can see that we have a variable here called is over. So whenever this change to true and we go out from this, it changed to false. That means when it's true, that means it's over. When it's false, it's not over. So how do we do that? In the inkwell here, because we have an inkwell, we have from the inkwell parameter, we have a callback here called on over, and we can get a value of true or false whenever we have a callback, and we can just set that to our is over, calling the set state. So whenever we over that, we go back, it's get over. So that's how we do it. And whenever we tap on the on tap, whenever we tap on it, we navigate push replace name to our initial route. I'll take it that to our initial route. So in our initial route, we have the menu already, and the menu, it contains the title, icon, routes, the sub route. So if we go to this menu right now, the route here is the route we have. So you can see menus, overview. If you go here, you see that we have this part, this route part here. So I'll go back, and we are getting that from the initial route, menu route, and icons we're getting from there. Everything we're just getting from there, and we are passing it here. So whenever I click on it, it navigates to that particular screen. And here we also have the check, which we are using the value listenable builder to check for the route notifier and the navigation service. So we are checking if it is tap, if the initial route is equals to the value emitted from this route notifier. So like if we navigate to here, you can see that this particular text and the icon is red. So that's the check if it is tap, and if this is tap, we are going to set it to red, the icon to red, and as well the text to red. And here, if this contains if it contains sub item, we can go to this navigation card list, and we have all of this. You can check this, we don't have time. And that's how we are doing for our drawer and then our dashboard view. So I'll go back to our pages and create food. So in our create food here, we have this create food view, and we have this change notifier that creates our food state. And here in our food state, we extend the base states. We have all these three singleton classes of our repositories, which is the user repository, the image picker service, the food repository, and as well we have the page controller, because this is a page. If we go there, you can see these are all a page. So I'll just type in random values here. You can see that these are all pages. So we are using the page controller to control that. We have the current page, and we have the visited pages. So these visited pages are the pages we have visited. Like we have already visited this page, that's why we can easily click on here and we navigate to that page. Since we have not visited this page before, if we click on here, we can't navigate. Even the summary here, pricing, we can navigate to those pages. So this holds those values, and the selected category is whenever the category we select here. So if we go here, select, so it selects that. So that's for that. And here we have the title controller, and we have the description, the price controller, the previous price, the image units 8 list. So whenever we pick a new image, whenever we pick an image, it's going to hold, this is going to hold that unit 8 list. This particular holds this, and the is live. So if we go to the final screen, let's navigate and add some random values here. We have this is live, so we have this is live field. So if we set this to is live, that means we want it whenever we, as soon as we publish this, is going to be live for our client-side app. But if we set it to false, that means when we publish it, we don't want the client-side user to see that particular food. Maybe later we'll come back and set it to live when we added anything, or we just any way we just want it. So that's it for the and all of this we just initialize it, and as well add listeners to them, so we can and as well dispose it whenever we leave the screen. We dispose everything. And here we are just validating each of the pages, like the detail page. We validate it with all of this. You can check it out. The pricing page is valid. We validate that, and we set the category. This is called when the category is being set. So if we go here, the drop down, there is on change value. I'm going to show you guys that. So when you call that, get the value, set it to the selected category. So move to next. You just add this plus. What it does is just plus is equals to category current page plus 1. So that's what that does. We also do, so when we do current page, we notify listeners, and we do this navigate animate to page. So here we have the animate to page from the page controller. We animate to that particular page with an integer with this milliseconds and this curve. We are using is out, and the move to previous page, we just do this minus. That means we remove one page from it, so we animate back. And here we have the on change page. So whenever this page is being changed, this get called add to the current page, and you can if this already exists on our visited page, it removes it. It doesn't add it anymore, but if it doesn't, it add. And this one just goes to the image picker, picks the image and add it to our image list, so and notify the listeners. And here is where we have the interesting thing. So I'll come back to the publish food. I'll just explain this. Set live, we call on the set live, get the value, set it live, and notify listeners. That's why I see that being active. So here we are doing the same thing I told you for our authentication. We are just doing the check, and we generate random 8 alphanumeric values from the random string package I showed you guys. And if the image is null, we are going to return. That means all of this is not going to run. But if it's not null, we just pass that to our ImagePickerService, the upload image default bucket, pass in the image unit 8 list, pass in the food and the ID, and we retrieve, because this is going to return us an image URL. We initialize, we create a new instance of our food. Here's the new instance of our food. Call that food. We initialize everything we need to initialize for this food: the ID, title, image URL, description, everything we have gotten from the admin here. We initialize it in here, and just call on the food repository, add food. We pass in the food instance we have here, pass it in here. And if this is done, this is this complete, the feature complete, we set the loading to false. And here, if this is right, we push to the foods part. That means if this is right, route correct, and if this is correct, that means if this is successful, we push to the foods part, so that we can see whatever food we uploaded. So I'll just give you guys, if you're actually following this, I'll just tell you, go and check all the pages we have, and want you to follow it up, and I want to see you build this. If you're building this, just leave it on the comment section. So next time I might come and explain the pages, the UI codes for all of this. But on our next video, it's going to be on our client-side app. Maybe the upper video is going to be for our admin. We need to talk about the add order and the other things, adding favorites and all those other things. So thank you for staying to this time. I hope you work out things and build a lot of stuff from this and use it on your personal projects or any other gigs you have. So thank you for staying around. If you're not a subscriber, I'd like you to click that subscribe button. Thank you.